afternoon and welcome to Markets Today. I'm your host, Mbithe Mwema. It's the start of a new week. We are coming to the very tail end of November and looking at the end of the year. What have your investment plans been? Have you made money? Have you lost money? We'd like to hear your thoughts and also to understand what kind of information would make your life easier. Our SMS line is 20146. Let's hear what you have to say when it comes to investment. Today, being the start of a new week, we will be giving you an overview of what happened last week in the markets. We will be taking a closer look at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Who are the top gainers? Who are the top losers? We'd also like to look at this particular week and give you an overview of what we expect to happen. We've already had a look at the market so far, and we have some interesting stocks that we'd like to bring you out into your frame of mind just for you to keep tabs on in terms of possible trading ideas for the week. When we take a break, we come back, we will be joined virtually by Linda Kiraithe, who is an analyst at AIBAXYS, to discuss what was happening last week, but more importantly, to delve into the financials that have come through the banking sector. But for now, let's take a look at what was happening on the NSE over the last 5 days. First and foremost, comparing this week's trading turnover to the prior week, we did see a 5 percentage point jump in turnover. Cumulatively, the last week, we saw 2.19 billion traded in terms of turnover. What were the foreigners doing? The foreigners were net buyers this time round. In other words, they were more buyers than they were sellers for this particular week. The key interest that we saw from the foreign investors was more focused on Safaricom as well as Bank of Kigali. For Safaricom, on Friday, we saw a material trade with 19 million shares traded over the day. The share had announced its half-year financials 1.5 weeks ago, and as a consequence of that, we've actually seen it come up to the 31-32 shilling mark in terms of foreign interest. That demand could be still there, but we haven't seen too much activity today. At the 32 shilling mark, we expect some of the investors will begin to take profit and, in other words, possibly sell out and book a profit. This is a stock that had come from a low of 26 in the month of August and has touched a high of 32 in the beginning of November. That aside, in terms of the price movements, we did see Bamburi top the charts. It gained 13.3 percentage points to trade at between 28 and 28.5 shillings per share. The demand for this particular stock was foreign-driven, driving up the price. We have been talking a lot about Bamburi. We talked about it when it was at 20 shillings. We even had a deep dive on one of our Fridays on Ask Mbithe just to articulate the case for this particular stock. If it's something that you had picked up at 20 shillings, at 28, it does provide an opportunity for you to sell out and make a possible profit from having come from a low of 20. Will it remain at 28, give or take? But I don't think it will go back to the 20 shilling mark. It'll probably just remain about 25, thereabout, just in case you were looking to get into it. But more importantly, what else are we seeing today? Well, Monday is always a quiet day, not too much happening. But we have seen a surprise price gainer for today. Centum is already up 7 percentage points, and it's now trading at about 17.5. This stock last week had touched a low of 16.5. AIBAXYS had actually come up with a note on it, an investment case for Centum. So we have actually seen a bit of retail interest driving up the price, and now it's already 7.15 percentage points up to 17.5, and there could be a little bit more upside for the week ahead. And as always, as you're buying or selling a stock, you really want to focus on the investor sentiment, but you also want to get a better understanding of the underlying company. So as you're trading it, just know what kind of business this company is in and what is the potential upside for you. But at a bare minimum, Centum last week at 16.5 was giving a healthy return in terms of the dividend yield. This company pays 1.2 shillings per share. Over and above that, Centum is also in the market, looking to raise 4 billion shillings for what it calls a housing bond. It wants to raise 4 billion shillings to be able to add value to some of its existing real estate properties and to be able to bring up housing that it can be able to sell. So that is something that is open and in the public realm. And if you would like more information, we're happy to be able to share more. 20146, that's our SMS line. That's pretty much what has been happening in terms of the NSE. Let's take a look at what was happening when it comes to looking at the corporate news pipeline. Not too much happening, but earlier today, we did see the newspapers actually come out and say that the banks are lending less using the mobile platform because of the high incidence of non-performing loans. Over and above that, it's a bit of a quiet day when it comes to the news. But let's take a quick break. When we come back, you have been asking us questions on Ask Mbithe. We will be able to articulate your questions and answer them on a one-on-one basis. But I see our charts are now up, so we can just quickly look through what was happening on Friday. That are some of the counters that were down. Express was the worst traded counter for that particular week. Trans-Century was also there, Captura and Samia Africa. Let's take a look at what other data points we have to share for you this day, and our data is available to you courtesy of Harvest. Bamburi Cement, as I had mentioned earlier, was the best performer for the week, up 13.25 percentage points. British American Tobacco up 10 percentage point on foreign demand. Bank of Kigali Group was also up there at 7.14 percentage points up, and Cab Acid was also up 6.5. Cab Acid announced its numbers earlier today. We will be sharing that with you later on. Let's take a look at the next data points that we have for you. So just an overview of what was happening in terms of the market. Friday was the big ticket day, and the key driver there was Safaricom, which was driving up volumes. A 19 million trade ticket was effected on that particular day, trading at about 32 shillings point mark on that particular day. So we take a quick break. When we come back, it's all about Safaricom. That's what we've been talking about here on Markets Today. Some of you sent us some questions, so we will be answering that in a few. Remember, our SMS line 20146. We want to hear your comments. Then after that, we will be talking at looking at the banks. Barclays has announced, ABSA has announced, Cooperative Bank has announced, Equity Bank has announced, KCB has announced. What is the read-through? All these banks are announcing negative numbers. Is there an opportunity for you to possibly buy them on this negative news? We take a short break. See you shortly.